I know that God gives us exactly what we need when we need it. But then knowing something and then really believing and following through and trusting in that knowing is another thing entirely. I've honestly had some serious doubts in living out my life. I've had some things going on, and I don't know that I've trusted that. And of course, God showed me today exactly how where I've missed the mark. And I'm going to talk about that today, and I hope you'll join me. Welcome to Longing for More, where Christians come to strengthen their faith, revive their soul, and learn to live their lives with a sense of fulfillment and peace. Listen each week to learn how to incorporate your faith into your daily activities, stop wandering through life feeling empty and unfulfilled, and begin to live your more. Let's get started. In a recent episode of The Chosen, they showed the scene where the apostles were in the boat and a storm came up, and it was a serious storm, waves crashing in, and they were frightened. And in that storm, they saw what they thought was a ghost walking towards them on the water. And then Peter realized that it was Jesus. And when Jesus got closer, Peter called out to Jesus and said, "Lord, call to me, have me walk on the water." And Jesus said, come to me. And Peter stepped out of the boat and he started walking to Jesus, but then he looked away. And as soon as he looked away from Jesus, the fear filled him and he started to sink. And that just really struck me because it feels like that's what's been going on for me this week. It's been a rough week. My stepmother passed away, and honestly, things that wasn't when it was supposed to happen. I started out talking about how I believe that things happen when they're supposed to, but we had been praying for a different timing, a different outlook. We knew it was coming, but it came so fast. And I'll be honest, there was frustration and guilt, fear, and even a little anger with how things came together for me. And then I realized that those emotions were coming up for me because I had looked away from Jesus. I wasn't looking for the good. I wasn't looking for his influence in all of this. I was trusting in what I thought should happen and how I thought things should come together. And of course, in the midst of all of this, I'm thinking, I need to produce an episode of the show, and should I skip it? But I hate doing that. What am I going to say? I'll just skip it. And it just kept coming up. And I realized that because it kept coming up, God wanted me to do this episode. But I didn't know what to say, and I didn't want to talk about the frustrations and all of the things that were going on. So I opened my devotions this morning, and would you believe my little portals of prayer that I get from the Concordia. It's so cool. So it's basically the title of the devotion this morning is Say a Few Words. And it's talking about the eulogy of George Washington. Now, I have volunteered to write the eulogy for my stepmom and had been working on that or whatever, but I just thought how beautiful that came together. And basically, it's talking about how Jesus, has won the war for us. And he truly is the one who brings us peace and reconciliation. And through his sacrifices, we have everything we need. And I had decided that the verses that come along with that are from Colossians 1:11 through 14. And when I read those, it talked about praying for others. And I had decided that I was going to share that with you. And so I'm going to do that with you right now. So starting Colossians 1, verse 11. We also pray that you will be strengthened with his glorious power, so you will have all the endurance and patience you need. May you be filled with joy, always thanking the Father. He has enabled you to share in the inheritance that belongs to his people who live in the light. For he has rescued us from the kingdom of darkness and transferred us into the kingdom of his dear Son, who purchased our freedom and forgave our sins. I don't know about you, but I needed to hear that today. And I know that he has already forgiven me for my doubts and my fear and my anger and my frustration and just not trusting him in this process. So what's really cool from that then is my Bible, the New Living Translation, then goes on and talks about how to pray for other Christians. And I'm going to give those to you right now because I don't know about you, but there are people in my life. I mean, I don't know how many times I've talked to people who have said, I don't know what else to do. The only thing I can do is pray. And I remind people that that's not an only, that's not a just. That's the biggest thing that we can do for people. That's the most important thing we can do for people. So in my New Living Translation, again, it's how to pray for other Christians. 1, be thankful for their faith and changed lives. That's from Colossians verse 1-3. 2, ask God to help them to know his will. Chapter 1:9. 3, ask God to give them spiritual wisdom and understanding. Again, from Colossians 1:9. 4, ask God to help them live to honor and please him. That's from verse 10. 5, ask God to give them more knowledge of himself. Again, from verse 10. 6, ask God to give them strength and endurance and patience. And that's from verse 11. And 7, ask God to fill them with joy and thankfulness. And that's from verses 11 and 12. And then it goes on to say, how many people in your life could be touched if you prayed for them in this way? And that's huge because sometimes I know I need to pray for somebody, but I don't know how. But as I read that list, it occurred to me that that's exactly the prayer that I need to be praying for myself every day as well. And trust me, I intend to do that. So to finish up this session and go on with the things that I need to get done today, I wanted to share one more thought. As I'm reaching out to family members and asking them what they would like to see in her eulogy, her sister responded with this, and this was just so beautiful. And it was just a huge reminder for me that I too need to be looking for the good in everything, or going back to the story of Peter walking on the water, I need to keep my eyes focused on Jesus, which then is seeing the good, right? And this is what she wrote. This my stepmom's sister wrote this. Erin always chose to see the good in people, the good in a situation, and the good during the bad. I couldn't have wished for her to stay with us any longer, but I am grateful for her that her example will stay with us. Isn't that not just beautiful? So anyway, I just thank you for bearing with me today. I know that this is short, and I know that it kind of came together quickly, but I felt that God wanted me to share this message with you today. And I thank you for stopping by. I thank you for your ongoing listening. I ask for you to consider who in your life can you pray this prayer for? Who can you ask God to be with and show them his will and wisdom and just meaning for life, to be able to trust him and know that everything works out for the good if we'll just let him work through all of our situations, because there's always something in the background that we don't know. There's always something that we can't control any of it, but if we'll just trust him, it will all be okay. And that I do believe. And I know that everything is going to be just beautiful. I'm so grateful for my stepmom. I'm grateful that she was here. I'm grateful for the legacy that she has left us. And I'm grateful that I will see her in heaven one day. So again, thanks for stopping by. I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. Until then, go, be blessed, and always, always live your more.